الحمد لله رب العالمين يا رب. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وأرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول ويتبعون أحسنه وادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. واشهد ان لا اله الا الله ولي الصالحين واشهد ان محمدا عبده وحبيبه ورسوله. سيدي ابا القاسم يا رسول الله، صل عليك الله يعلم الهدى. واشهد انك بلغت الرساله واديت الامانه ونصحت الأمة وكشفت الغمة وجاهدت لله حق جهاده. عباد الله، يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في محكم تنزيله: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. My dear brothers and sisters, I greet you all with a greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. All praise is due to Allah. We bear witness and we testify that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we bear witness and we testify that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his messenger and his slave. All salams and salawats be upon our Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, upon his noble family, his righteous companions, and all those who follow his path till Allah's time. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, inshallah today we'll talk about this important topic, and that is bringing up children in Islam. I chose this topic because next week will be the first week of our children going to school. Some of them starting school for the first time, others going to high school and others university. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect our children. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect our youth and to keep them steadfast in our religion, Ya Rabbal Alameen. My dear brothers and sisters, being a parent, we always have that fear. What is going to happen to our children when they grow up? How they're going to turn out to be? Are they going to remain in religion? What kind of friends they're going to have? Who they're going to marry? All these kind of questions come to our mind. And that's why we should always, always keep our children in our prayers from the moment they're born. Because if they're good today, that doesn't mean that they're going to continue to be good. But as long as they're raised in a Muslim family, as long as they see their parents as role models, even when they grow up and they might rebel for a certain time, they will come back again. Our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he said this beautiful hadith. He said, every one of you is responsible and will be questioned about his responsibility. Every single one of us, whatever we are responsible for, we are also accountable for when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said a ruler is responsible and will be questioned about his responsibility. When he said a ruler, it doesn't mean just a president or just a mayor. Even for those business owners, even for those people that have people under them, employers, they are going to be responsible and accountable for everyone who is under them. And also, our Prophet ﷺ continues by saying, a man is responsible for his family and will be questioned about his responsibility. Every single one of us, being the head of a family, I know it's a beautiful thing to get married and have children, the biggest gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But at the same time, my dear brothers and sisters, we are going to be questioned about our children as well. Have we done enough for our children? Have we raised them with Islam? Have we, how we looked after them? In what kind of environment they grew up? All these kind of things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question every single one of us. But also, when it comes to our wives, when it comes to our mothers, our Prophet ﷺ said, a woman is responsible for her husband's property and their children, and will be questioned about her responsibility as well. A mother plays an important role. We know, living in Australia here, we have to work hard. And men usually they leave early, they come late. So who is the main person that will be able to raise those children properly? Is the mother. Is the mother, my dear brothers and sisters. And she is going to be questioned about her responsibilities as well. Every one of you is responsible and will be questioned about those who are placed under their responsibility. And we have also a verse in the Holy Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. All you who believe, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing every single one of us here. Because we are those believers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is how we should treat the Quran when we read. And Allah is addressing by saying, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Feel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to you and me directly. And saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all you believe, save yourselves and your families from a hellfire whose fuel is men and stones. May Allah protect us, Ya Rabbal Alameen. My dear brothers and sisters, why I chose this topic also? Because being imams, we see a lot of things. And by the way, we have two imams that honor us to be here with us today. Imam Rajab, who was the former imam of Albanian Mosque in Carlton for so many years. And also Imam Elam, who is the imam of Albanian Mosque in Shepparton, which is the oldest mosque in Victoria. May Allah preserve them, may Allah protect them, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Now, sometimes when we do funerals, some people might come to us. And this happened to, I'm sure, to every imam. A son, a child whose father just passed away. He said, Imam, I want to take wudu ablution and I want to pray janazah prayer on my dad. But I don't know how to do ablution. I don't know how to pray. Now, 5 minutes before the funeral prayer, you're not able to teach someone how to do wudu. You're not able to teach someone how to pray. So what he did, he just stand on the way there, and he wasn't able to pray janazah prayer on his own car. SubhanAllah. And imagine you look to that janazah, to that man who was lying down over there, and saying, SubhanAllah, you know how much you have lost for your son not being able to pray for you. Not being able to pray janazah prayer and do wudu because you were not able to teach him. Wallahi, this is sad. And you know how many children we have like that. How many parents are like that, that they think that they are successful only because they are able to buy a house or two. Wallahi, the best thing that you can leave to your children is not wealth. It's not things of this dunya. It's education. Even if you leave nothing else for them, they will be grateful because you were able to teach them Islam. You were able to teach them to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And another story that happened during the time of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and this story I've told you guys even before, when a father, he came to Umar, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was the leader of all Muslims. He said, "Oh, Amir al-Mu'mineen," he said, "my son does not respect me. My son is this, my son is that." And being a scholar, being an Amir al-Mu'mineen, you don't judge people just because a father is saying something to you about their son. Straight away, what did he do? He said, "Bring your son here first. Let me question him first." And the son came, and the father was saying all those things to Umar in front of his son. And you know what the son said? "O Amir al-Mu'mineen, do children have any rights over their fathers? Do the fathers have to do something for their children first before they complain?" He said, "Yes." He said, "What are those responsibilities?" He said, "The father has to choose, number one, a good mother for his children to look after them and raise them. The father has to choose a nice name for his child so that the child feels proud of his own name. Number three, father has to teach his child principles of Islam, like what is halal and what is haram. And the father has to help his child to read Quran and to memorize some of those short surahs. All these things that Umar is mentioning, the son is listening. And he said, "Now let me tell you what my father has done. All these things that you chose, none of those things my father has done." He said, "My father failed to fulfill any of his rights towards me. He chose for me a mother who knows nothing about her religion, knows nothing about Islam, knows nothing about her responsibilities as a mother. And he chose for me a name that I feel ashamed in front of people, a bad name. And he did not teach me any matters of my religion or any surahs of the Quran." This is the son saying. Now what do you think Umar radiallahu ta'ala did? Instead of saying to his son, to the son, "You should steal this," he said to the father, "Go away. You are the problem, not your son. You weren't doing any of these things, and now when he grew up, you complain that your son is not respecting you." It's too late. You have to educate your children before they are born by choosing the right wife, so that that wife can be your children's mother in the future. How many of us, we fail in that number one thing? Wallahi, my dear brothers and sisters, when our children or Muslims get married nowadays, what do we look for? When my child, my son or your son wants to get married, if he is religious, but he hasn't got money, he hasn't got this, he hasn't got that, we turn them away. And Prophet said alayhi salatu wasalam, if someone righteous will come and ask for your daughter and you turn them away, a corruption is going to happen on land. And this is happening. No, what we ask is, how much money, what kind of degree. When it comes to his character, when it comes to his religion, that is the last question. Maybe it's not even a question at all. Even when it comes to that girl, all we focus on is her beauty. We focus on maybe her status, what kind of family she comes from. Nothing about her religion, nothing about her character. And our Prophet ﷺ, he said, there are 4 reasons why we choose someone to marry, a girl, a woman. He said, for her beauty, for her property, for her family status, and for her religion. 4 things. Beauty, status because she comes from, mashallah, good family, or she's got money, or religion. But Prophet Islam continues, he doesn't stop here. He said, do not marry the woman for their beauty, because maybe their beauty may change them and make them wicked. You know, sometimes when you marry, and this is a problem we face as counselors and imams, you know, people having problems down the line, they say, oh my God, my wife, when I married her, mashallah, she was so beautiful. We have a couple of children now, she has changed, her body has changed, her face has changed. What did you expect? So his love is related to her beauty only. If there's no more beauty, no more love. And Prophet ﷺ continues by saying, and do not marry them for their wealth, because maybe their wealth will make them oppressive. And wallahi, I have seen this with my own eyes. You know, some of those boys that come from overseas or from families that are poor, and the girl, she had money, so she is using that wealth against him in everything. You see, you were nobody, I gave you this, I gave you that. Now, shut your mouth, so no respect whatsoever. And they become oppressive. Or maybe they don't know the language, they're not able to find a job for a certain time. And some, not all of them, some they use this against them. You see, you're living in my father's house, you're nobody. They put them down. And imagine us as men. Allah created us like that for ego. How would we feel if may Allah protect us, if our wives would say, you see, if you're nobody, you're not able to speak English, you're not able to work, you don't have a house, you don't have anything, how would you feel? You would feel like this. We would feel like this. And our Prophet ﷺ said, but marry them for their religion. So the key thing for the family to be healthy and to be successful and to raise those children in Islam is to choose the right spouse. For those who are married, maybe it's too late, but for all of you that are young and you're about to take that step in your life, which in my opinion is one of the most important steps in your life, be careful who you choose. Be careful. Not because you think that marriage is fairy tales and it's about white dress and it's about how you're going to look on that wedding day. Wedding day is one day. What's going to happen to you after that day? And someone told me, which I always use this, he said, Imam, I see Muslims here, when they marry their children, mashallah, they spend not just tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. We know this. He said, but none of them actually think to buy one book for each of them about the rights and responsibilities of husband and wife, which costs $5. Maybe that book might save them, because with respect for children, a lot of them are not mature enough to understand the responsibilities of being a husband or being a wife. They start to fight over things that are ridiculous, things that are simple. They fight in front of their children, in front of their parents. And the problem will start to grow slowly to the point that the marriage is destroyed. When I say marriage is destroyed, I'm not saying just husband and wife. I'm talking about those children. We have become so selfish that we don't think what's going to happen to my children. I am not happy. Who cares about my father? Who cares about my family? Who cares about my children? They're going to end up on the streets. I care about myself. I'm not happy. How come you're not happy? You're married for 20 years. What happened those 20 years? No, now all of a sudden I just have no feelings towards him or towards her. Well, this is very current. I see this pretty much every week. May Allah protect us out of me. Number two, my dear brothers and sisters, when your child is born, it is important the first thing your child to hear is Allah's name. To call Adhan in his right ear and Iqamah in the left ear. We want him to understand that the first word he will hear is Allahu Akbar. And he is in a Muslim family. And number 3, because there are so many things to say, that's why I want to keep this short, is also to find a beautiful name. A name that your children and my children will be proud of when they grow up. When I say good name, and I said to you this maybe before, find a Muslim name, but also it's easy to pronounce. Easy to pronounce. Adam. Adam is what? Is the name of our father, Adam alayhi salam. Is that a Muslim name? Yes. Is that easy to pronounce? Yes. Can my son shorten his name when he grows up from Adam? No. There are some very beautiful names. MashaAllah, you know, Abdul Khaliq, Abdul Razak. But when they become 12, no Abdul Razak, no Muhammad, no more this. Why? Because they shortened to some 3-letter names. Because he doesn't know what the name means. He doesn't know that this is a beautiful name. Now he shortens, my name is from Mikael is Michael now. From this is that. Do we play a role in this as parents? So find a name. We live in Australia. We came here ourselves. No one forced us to come here. Don't live with that back home mentality. Our kids are born and raised here. This is their country. So don't make your children feel embarrassed of their names. Find a beautiful Muslim name that are easy to other when other kids call them those names and they won't be able to shorten them. Also, there are other sunnahs when the child is born, you know, with a tenor, and also to slaughter a sheep if it's a girl, and 2 if it's a boy. All those things are important. Number 3, my dear brothers and sisters, don't try to force your children Islam on them when they're 3 years old, 4 years old. They don't understand. You're an imam, you say, hey, they have no clue what you're saying. From 2, 3 years old till 7, play with them, get close to them, be friend with them. And once they become 7, you start slowly. You know, Allah, I can guarantee, especially the old generation here, and I can include myself because I'm from overseas. The first surah that I have learned when I was young is from my grandparents. From my parents when I was 5 years old. They used to say it in a nice, most beautiful way. And I memorized, and those surahs are still in my memory today. Don't try to teach them something. Start with Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar, something short. To say Bismillah, to say Inshallah, to say Alhamdulillah, something small. When they become 7, you start a bit more until they become 10. When they're 10, you're more serious. You understand? This is how we do, my dear brothers and sisters. And also, the best way to bring children in Islam is for us to practice Islam at home. For us to be role models for our children. What's the point of saying to your children, do this if you don't do it yourself? He's not going to do it. He might do it out of fear when he's young, or when you're present there. If you're not there, he's not going to do it. But if you do it, you've seen those grandkids or kids of yours 2 years old. They see their parents pray. They don't know what they're doing, but they go to sajda, they will go because they want to copy their parents. And this is the best way, my dear brothers and sisters. Wallahi, it's hard living in a society like we are in this country. Temptations everywhere. It's not easy. School, you know, a lot of schools, some kids use drugs and use all those, haram things. Please never stop praying for your children. Number 2, always see who they're hanging out with. This is a key. See what friends. You know, all these sleepovers and all that. I would highly discourage that. A Muslim child, my daughter or my son, to go sleep over somewhere that I don't know who that family is. Stop these kind of things. Check what your kids are doing on social media, on internet. Play those online games. You know, there are a lot of, Australia is known for these predators. That they go on these games and they ask kids to send photos and all those kind of things. As a parent, you're responsible to check what they do. May Allah make us of those that we are able to educate our children according to Islam. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those that we respect our parents and those people who are older than us. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our children steadfast in religion and to protect them from any harm. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect our children from those bad companies that are out there and all those temptations. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those that we are able to feed ourselves and our families with halal and to stay away from haram. To make us of those that He's pleased with us in this world and the next. Ya Rabbal Alameen. وأقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه سيستغفر الله إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.